Box and Wireless Scotland, the very best of your box and wireless.
Yes, St George's Day being a national holiday, if we decide to go down this route of an English National Day, it will mean we have become a feeble little country, just like the Scots and the Welsh and the Irish.
Well, certainly, it is right there. I mean, the English, St George's Day was only last Thursday, and the English didn't really bother with it.
Nobody bothered with it. I was going to do some stuff for it, and I thought, I'll not bother, you know.
No, because, it's not like, people all over the world pretty much celebrate St Patrick's Day, and people in Scotland celebrate St Andrew's Day.
We do a bit of St Andrew's Day. I would say since Scottie McClue's megaphone-in started, we've taken a more of an interest in St Andrew's Day.
Well, yes, you played some nice stuff last year on St Andrew's Day.
Just to encourage the Scots to be aware of St Andrew, you know.
Of course.
But you see, as Dr. Starkey, right? Dr. Starkey's a highly intelligent man.
He is a very intelligent man. I like his history documentaries. He brings history very much to life, particularly stuff about the Tudors.
He's a professor at Oxford, isn't he?
Yes. He's a highly intelligent man, and I do enjoy his TV programmes. I know exactly who this is we're talking about.
Now, is he right about Burns being a deeply boring provincial poet?
Well, these things are all down to taste. Me personally, Burns has his place, and he is, the national bard of Scotland or whatever, but I personally prefer Shakespeare, but I think Burns has his place.
Well, I think Shakespeare's... What can I say about Shakespeare? Burns was making a lot of comments on the time, because these were very revolutionary times. Burns was writing at the time of the French Revolution.
Yes, that's right.
1780s.
That's right.
And so they were very revolutionary times.
Yes.
But I think you and I have touched on this before, but Shakespeare, I think, was purely writing for entertainment.
Well, I think, I would say Shakespeare was writing, and sometimes it was disguised as entertainment, but I think there was always a deeper sort of message behind the things Shakespeare was writing as well.
What do you think? Do you think, was that more a general human message, just about people's behaviour?
Well, yes, about people and society in general.
Yes, he's a very cheeky writer, Shakespeare. A lot of his stuff's very cheeky.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Saying to people, "Thou art but a boil." So somebody is this sort of erupting, suppurating mess, full of poison. And there's one or two people that you think, he had a point.
Oh yes.
There's one or two people we could probably sort of think of at the back of our heads that we think thou art but a boil.
I think maybe the English.
But you can draw a boil, you see, by slapping a poultice on it. A warm poultice is quite good for drawing out the poison in some people.
Ah.
Yes.
Yes. But I think maybe the English, because the other thing that Starkey was saying was that the English maybe don't make such a big deal of Shakespeare as the Scots do of Burns, and that is sad. I think,
Well, is that the truth, though, or do they make a big deal of Shakespeare? Well, you see, the thing is, Burns had the real common touch. Now, Shakespeare should have as well, but Shakespeare's regarded as a bit sort of highbrow.
Well, yes.
In England.
English in general are maybe the intellectual people like Shakespeare.
But Shakespeare was written for the common man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think maybe just ordinary people should maybe try and get more into Shakespeare.
Yes, I think there should be.
The thing about Burns, although he's not necessarily my favourite, a lot of more ordinary Scots know the poetry of Burns.
But his stuff he's got a lot of. He might not be everybody's favourite, but he's got a lot of wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Oh yes.
And a lot of it's in code. A lot of it's encoded as well, if you like. And I think that Shakespeare. You see, maybe we're needing to have Shakespeare performed in pubs.
Yes, I think maybe you're right.
So somebody says, "Come on, are you coming down the ferret and laptop because coming down the old ferret and laptop because they're doing As You Like It tonight instead of watching satellite telly."
Pardon?
Instead of watching satellite telly.
Yes.
Or stick Shakespeare on every night instead of some of the soap operas.
Well, yes, I think. See,
look, the Tempest on at 8 o'clock.
A few years ago, there was a modern. There were some modern adaptations of some of Shakespeare's works.
Do you mean modern staging?
Pardon?
Modern staging.
Modern staging, modern words. They changed it from early modern language into present day language.
I don't think we should be doing that.
No, that's what I was going to say. I don't think that's a good idea.
I think we should all be learning Old English. Pardon? I think we should all be learning Old English.
Yes, or at least early modern English, which was what Shakespeare was written in.
Yes.
I mean, the language of Shakespeare's work is just as much about the language he used as the plots behind the dramas. And I think, although I know what people were trying to do, I think they were maybe trying to make Shakespeare more for ordinary, people to enjoy, but I didn't like it that they changed the language.
No, I think not. You said an interesting thing. You said early modern English.
Yes. Well, that was what I was taught it was, yes.
As opposed to Old English.
Old English was way beyond that, because you had Old English and then you had Middle English.
Yes.
And then early modern, and now we've got present day English.
So you would say Shakespeare's an early modern?
Early modern, yes.
Very interesting. Iambic pentameter.
Yes.
Yes, excellent stuff. So there we are. Right,
yes.
That's good. Yes, because the original accent that Shakespeare would be performed in had elements of Old English.
Yes, it would be a slightly different accent.
It was a bit war.
I would say early modern was a sort of transitional phase, I think, between Middle English and our English.
Yes, so Shakespeare's is pretty well bang up to date, really.
Yes.
A few thousand these.
A few thousand these, but...
Yes, we can manage all that. I mean, they still do that in Yorkshire.
They do, yes.
You know? And ye is great in Yorkshire. Where shall ye be?
Ye, that's right,
Yes, that's when I first heard a lady. She was talking to her husband in the supermarket, and, and he said he would go uptown, and she said, well, where shall ye be?
Yes,
So there's still a bit of thou and thee and thou.
Yes.
Which is rather good. Now, the other thing about St. George, of course, was he made up or was he genuine?
St. George?
Yes, is he a bit of a fraud?
Well, the story I've heard was that St. George was a Turk and he'd never actually set foot in England, so that's why the English don't celebrate him, because they don't think he's particularly...
Well, maybe we should find a new one then. I mean, should it be Gordon Brown's Day?
Well, I actually heard someone say that the other day as well. They actually suggested we should maybe have something like Shakespeare Day or...
Yes, I mean, why? Well, we have Buns Night, don't we?
Night, so why not have Shakespeare Day?
Shakespeare Day instead, yes, and get rid of St. George, because I feel that the other thing is he slayed the dragon. Now, you see, why did he not pat the dragon?
That would be quite...
Or talk to the dragon, or feed the dragon. Get the dragon down to just a general puff of smoke. You know? Put the fire out a bit. He must have made the dragon flaming angry. If you'll pardon the pun.
Flaming angry.
Flaming angry, you know? He must have had a fiery temper, that dragon.
I'm sure it did have a fiery temper.
Well, it can't be good for you as a dragon to start to breathe fire, to self-combust like that.
No, I'm sure it's not very healthy.
Even if you've got your own combustion chamber. So I think what we need to do is say, OK, let's scrap St. George, but what do we put in his place? Do we put Dr. Starkey in his place?
Maybe, but I think the other thing about Shakespeare, I mean, I don't know how true this was or not, but legend has it that Shakespeare was actually born on St. George's Day. He died on St. George's Day as well, and that's why I don't think it was totally true. I think Shakespeare was born round about that time.
Well, it looks like the Queen just missed being born on St. George's Day by a couple of days.
Yes, she's born on the 21st of April.
That's right, right. So,
and I think Shakespeare, the stories that are Shakespeare was born probably round about then as well, or the 19th or 20th, because there are records of his christening at round about the 26th of April, but they very seldom christened babies after they were born, if they'd only been born for 2 days, unless they thought they were going to die. So it's highly unlikely that he was born on St. George's Day.
On St. George's Day. Now, as Dr...
They've sort of romanticised his dates.
Really?
But he probably was born round about then and died. Maybe he died on St. George's Day.
As well, yes. Yes, we need to look into this. Now, the thing is that... Has Dr. Starkey missed a point here? I mean, are the English already a feeble little country?
What do you mean?
Well, he said that the Scots, the Welsh and the Irish are feeble little countries. Does that mean that on its Todd, England is a feeble little country as well?
Well, maybe it's only as they come together as Great Britain that there's...
Yes, strength together.
Yes, strength in numbers.
Yes, how very interesting. But the thing is, I need to find out if it's true. Is Scotland a feeble little country? Do we need to have a wake-up? Is Dr. Starkey giving us a wake-up call?
I don't know. I mean, certainly not about, I would say, the things he's talking about, like buns and bagpipes and things like that. These are all down to taste. I mean, I don't think they're part of Scotland, but I don't think they're what makes Scotland particularly.
No, but I think that also we hear increasingly about the negative side of Scotland. The lack of funding, the unemployment, the drugs, the
that's
drink.
Everywhere now.
Yes.
That's everywhere now.
Yes.
Really.
Yes, well, we haven't done terribly well over the last 12 years, really, have we?
No, not particularly, but I mean, that's everywhere now. It's not just...
I think we need to have a think before having any more lefty-wefty namsy-pamsies in.
You're probably right, but I think you're also right about St George. I mean, the thing about because I was thinking, I mean, the other patron saints, at least we know who they are.
Oh,
we
yes.
know the stories of St...
Oh, Patrick and Andrew were real people.
Yes, and St David as well, whereas St George is just...
Box and Wireless Scotland.
I'm just wondering then if England's a bit of a fraud as a nation, and maybe
Pardon?
we need to... I'm wondering if England is a bit of a fraud as a nation.
A fraud?
A fraud.
I'm not sure.
And maybe we need to see if we can help England out.
Maybe.
We always have done in the past.
Yes. Yep.
So I think if we go down that road and saying, can we help you out? Give you a proper history. That would be the thing. Lovely to talk to you, Ali. Thank you very much. Very informative, my dear.
Hope so. Hope I didn't bore anybody.
Oh, you'll never bore anybody. No, don't worry about that. Apart from Joe, who doesn't have the intelligence to understand what you're saying.
Oh, well.
Okay. So there we are. You've got to make allowances for these people.
I suppose, yep.
Hey, and Dinky do.
Dinky do.
Dinky do. There we are. That's Ali there, phoning from Airdrie, and talking nothing but sense. So perhaps we could help Dr. Starkey out here and get rid of St. George altogether and find something a bit more palatable and a bit more genuine for poor old England to have as their patron saint. Absolutely, you're listening to Lanarkshire L10 Centre. Well, L107, the Centre for Culture in Scotland. I shall say that again. Absolutely, you're listening to Lanarkshire L107, the Centre for Culture in Scotland. Scotland's #1 radio station. This is where it's at. This is where it all happens. This is where the nation get a chance to have their say for 2 hours each weekday morning between 10 o'clock sharp and 12 midday. Have you got that, Joe? 10 o'clock sharp and 12 midday from Monday through until Friday. I'm Scottie McClue. If you've just joined us, a very, very warm welcome to the Country Stop phone-in programme on the Country Stop radio station, Lanarkshire's L107, local radio for Scotland, local radio for Lanarkshire, and local radio for you, playing all the songs that the other stations have either never heard of or they have forgotten about. My message to the other radio stations is we've upped our game, now up yours. So there we are, and sound advice coming from McClue to all Scottish media out there. Let's get our act together, I say, and entertain the nation big time. Right, have you phoned this morning? If not, phone us up and tell us what's wrong with you. Or do you not have access to a telephone? Or can you not get your money into the box? Remember, when you're coming on, of course, remember to turn your radio down. And when I say you're live on Scotty's phone in, then jump in quickly. Otherwise, I will think that you are not actually there. To your telephones, 01698 337107, fast becoming the best known telephone number in the country, out with the emergency services. So always have that number handy. Get it down with the aid of a stub of a hard black pencil, a threepenny jotter with nae batter beside your telephones, and be able to say to yourself as you walk about doing your daily deeds and chores, I got through to Scottie McClue on the radio just for you. We're stout out the door and step it through at the moment with your calls. What are we talking about this morning? I hear you scream at the wireless. Well, very, very briefly, a lot to discuss this morning. The historian David Starkey, Dr. David Starkey, has been told to apologise after branding Scotland a feeble little country. David Starkey also branded Scotland's national poet Robert Burns deeply boring and said bagpipes were awful. The comments on BBC One's Question Time on Thursday night provoked angry protests from us, the Scottish people. The BBC received a total of 72 complaints about them. And the Labour MP for Dumfries and Galloway last night demanded an apology. Russell Brown, the Labour MP for Dumfries and Galloway, demanded an apology from Dr Starkey. He said the silly remark that many people will find offensive, his willingness to write off Scotland shows a knowledge of history doesn't make you understand modern life in the UK. Dr Starkey's remarks came when he was asked whether St George's Day, April the 23rd, that was last week, should be an English national holiday. He responded, if we decide to go down this route of an English national day, it'll mean that we become a feeble little country, just like the Scots and the Welsh and the Irish. He added, we do not make a great fact about Shakespeare like the Scots do about that deeply boring provincial poet B.a.W.S, and we do not have national music like the awful bagpipe. Now, the question I'm asking you, the Scottish nation, this morning is, does Dr Starkey have a point? Have we become a feeble little nation, a little carbuncle on the bottom of England or of Europe, and we've lost our Scottish identity? The bagpipe, I would disagree with him with. I think the bagpipe is excellent and sounds superb, and we'll probably be able to get you an example of that later on in the programme. So give us a call about that. I think what we need to do is help the English out and say, look, get rid of St George. He is fairly mythical, and he mistreated the dragon, so obviously the RSPCA would want to have a word with them about the mistreatment of the dragon. Why did he not pat the dragon, or feed the dragon, or stroke the dragon, or take the dragon in as a pet? So there we are. I'm sure if you treat animals properly, they only misbehave. It would only be breathing fire because it was frightened, and I'm sure he could have got it down to just a gentle puff of smoke and stroked its reptilian nut. Right, so to your telephones on that one. If we could help the English out, what saint could we give them for their national day, the 23rd? I suppose you could even have Saint Scottie McClue. That would be better than St George, because at least I exist. To your telephones on that, 01698 337 107. And the Gurkhas, the Home Office, have claimed that new rules only allow 4,300 more Gurkhas to settle out of 36,000 who served in the army before 1997. Now, this is the Nepalese Gurkhas who have served this country for 200 years as a regiment in the British Army, and they're saying that the Gurkhas can't come to the UK and live there after serving this country. What I'm suggesting is, should we ask the First Minister if it be possible for the Gurkhas to come and settle in Scotland? If there's 43,000 of them, you look at towns like Hamilton and Airdrie and Motherwell and Coatbridge and East Kilbride and Cumbernauld, Kilsyth, Harthill, Bellshill, Steps, Shotts, Moodiesburn, Croy, Cleland, Carstairs, Lesmahaga, the Gow, Banton, Codderbeck, Chapel Hall, New Stevenson, Codder, Crooks. I'm just thinking Dullator, Coatdyke. All these places are to a certain extent depopulated from what they were 50 years ago. And I think what we could do, apart from, of course, East Kilbride, it's far more populated, and Cumbernauld, the new towns, but apart from that, we still call them the new towns. Apart from that, have we got enough room? Could we manage another 43,000 rather jolly, hard work?
Box and Wireless Scotland, the very best of your box and wireless.